So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, one that challenges the entire way we look at our own lives. It's a new lens for that feeling of being stuck, and it suggests the solution isn't somewhere out there, it's right in here. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You're paying your bills, you've got a decent job, you have some great friends. On paper, everything looks, well, good. So why is there this little voice, this nagging feeling that something is just off? We're going to get to the bottom of that feeling, and it all starts with realizing that the problem isn't what's happening around you.
And there it is. That's the core idea we're unpacking today. The argument is that our biggest roadblocks, the things that really truly hold us back, they're internal. They aren't these big, scary obstacles out in the world. They're the thought patterns running on a loop inside our own heads.
Okay, so if the thing keeping you stuck is inside you, where do we even begin? Well, we start with a pretty radical idea, that your perception doesn't just color your reality, it literally creates it.
This analogy from the author Byron Katie is an absolute game changer. Just think about it. We don't actually experience the world as it is. Nope. Instead, our mind is like a movie projector. Our thoughts, our fears, our beliefs, that's the film. And the world out there, that's just the screen. All our suffering comes from trying to run up and change the image on the screen when we should be changing the film that's running in the projector.
And you know, psychology actually has a name for this default setting we all have. It's called naive realism. We're just hardwired to believe that what we see, our projection, is the objective truth. But you have to remember, everything that has ever happened to you has happened inside your own skull. Reality for us is an internal experience, first and foremost.
So if our reality is really just a projection of what's in our minds, then what does that make our problems? Well, this next idea completely reframes them. They're not obstacles at all. They're pathways. This quote from the incredible Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius just says it all, doesn't it? The things that we think are blocking our path, they are the path. They're not some random bit of bad luck. They're actually catalysts, perfectly designed to make us grow.
So how does this actually work in real life? Well, first, you hit some kind of problem, an obstacle. This immediately forces you out of your comfort zone, right? It pushes you to think differently, to behave differently, to make different choices. And it's that forced action, that change, that ultimately leads to your own evolution and growth. So you see, the problem isn't in your way. The problem is the way to the life you're trying to build.
Okay, this next part is really counterintuitive because we spend our whole lives being taught to run away from discomfort. We see it as this big red flag that something is wrong. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if that feeling of discomfort is actually a signal that you're on the right track? I mean, just look at this list. We would normally label every single one of these as a bad thing. But feeling lost, that could just mean you're finally becoming more present, not just following some old script. Reliving old struggles? Maybe that means you're finally becoming conscious enough to heal them and change the pattern. And that cringy, uncomfortable feeling you get around really negative people? That's a fantastic sign. It means your own energy is rising, and you're just not a match for that anymore.
This all connects to this fascinating idea of our shadow selves. You know that intense, almost illogical anger you feel when someone acts a certain way? The idea here is that you're often seeing a disowned part of yourself. The traits you absolutely despise in other people are often the exact things you haven't been able to see or accept in yourself. And that's why discomfort is like a compass. It points you directly to where the work needs to be done.
So if a good life isn't about avoiding discomfort and seeking pleasure all the time, then how in the world are we supposed to measure it? This next part challenges the very yardstick we use to decide if we're doing okay.
You know, our culture tells us to measure life by our accomplishments, by our stability, by how perfectly we follow some life plan. But what if a better measure is your capacity for discomfort? Or how many times you've been brave enough to completely change your mind about something important? Or just the depth of your empathy for other people? It totally shifts the focus from an external checklist to an internal state of being.
The philosopher Eric Greitens breaks happiness down into 3 types. First, you've got the simple happiness of sensory pleasure. Then there's the happiness of grace, which is all about gratitude. But the one that really builds a meaningful life is the happiness of excellence. That's the joy you find in the pursuit of something meaningful. It's about falling in love with the hike, not just obsessing about reaching the summit. All right, this brings us to our final and honestly most actionable section. How to start shifting our focus away from how our life looks on the outside and toward how it actually feels on the inside.
This is such a core principle.
Whatever you feel you're not receiving from the world is almost always a direct reflection of what you're not giving. The world around you is a mirror. So if you feel like there's not enough love in your life, the work isn't to go out and find someone to give it to you. The work is to become a more loving person yourself.
We all have that one thing, that one pattern, that subconsciously drives our decisions. It just shows up again and again. The key is to identify it. But the goal isn't to get rid of it. The goal is to learn how to wield it, to find the hidden purpose within that recurring struggle. So what is it for you? What owns you? Is it your past? Is it fear? What's your core pattern?
And here's a really crucial distinction we have to make. We're always told to follow our passion. But passion is an emotion, it's a spark, and it can be fleeting. A truly meaningful life is built on purpose. Purpose is the kindling. It keeps the fire burning long after the initial spark is gone. It's about infusing your daily, even mundane tasks with a sense of meaning instead of just waiting around for lightning to strike.
And we're going to end on this one. Powerful question. If all the external validation just disappeared tomorrow, if nobody could see your accomplishments, or your car, or your house, or what you look like, what would be left? What kind of life would you be building then? That's really the question we're left with. It's not about what your life looks like to others, but what it feels like from the inside out.